Hi everybody, this is Deb, and I am here today to show you some sewing, how to sew on paper. We're going to talk a little bit about the cover and the signature, and I'm not sure which is the best way to have the camera. I mean, obviously, I have proven that I am not a video maker, and so I'm not sure what's the best way. I mean, do you really want to have a detail down here of my hands sewing? I couldn't figure out how to do that and have this space as well. So I'll show you what I have been sewing, but you won't actually see the needle go up and down, if that's okay. So the thread that I'm using today is a dark gray. I prefer black, but I have very little black. I get my thread at the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm not here to sell thread, but I like it, and it's very reasonably priced. You used to get it for $3, now it's up to $5, but anyway, I like black for this particular project because it looks very vintage to me. You know, and I want my stitches to stand out. So anyway, I'm using a dark gray, which looks like this. So it's certainly not black, but it's better than white. So let's talk a little bit about the cover. So Brenda had asked the question about the size of the cover, and I put that information out there. You can make your cover any size that you want. Now, when I'm talking about the cover, I'm talking about this brown paper bag. It can be any color that you want, or any size that you want. You know, if you prefer to have a smaller, more compact needle book, that's great. You can do that. And we'll talk more about the signature as well. But, you know, my cover is one size, but as we can see, all of my signature pages stick out, or not all of them, but a lot of them stick out past the size of the actual cover. So the size of your book is going to be smaller or larger overall because of the signature sticks out. As I'd mentioned before, you are welcome to trim yours off. And you don't see how I've got ragged edges. You don't have to have ragged edges. You can trim those all off and have them nice and straight if that's what you prefer. This is your book. You need to do it the way that you like to do it. Today, now, you know, as I've talked before, when we sew our signature, when we're finally ready to sew it into the book, we're going to sew it by machine. We are not doing that today. We are not even close to being at that point. So, but I will show you some different sewing techniques and ideas today. Okay, so here's my cover. These are things that I want to, hang on, I need to get some glue. You're also going to need a glue stick. This is my cover. This is fabric that I'm going to have on my cover. You want to make sure it's nice wherever it is that you want it. I want mine to be kind of even on both sides, like this. So I also want this in there. This is a little piece of tablecloth that has this crochet around it. So I'm also going to want that there. Now, the thing about this is I want I'm thinking that I want these to be a pocket. So I don't want to glue them down. And I don't want to sew across here because then it's not going to be a pocket. So, but do I really want it to be a pocket? Probably not. So, you're going to take your glue stick going to just peel this back. And you're just going to put enough glue on here to hold it in place when you sew. Okay, same thing with this. Just enough to hold it in place as you sew. Oh, make sure I'm in frame here. I'm trying to do a better job of that. Sorry about that. I am not a video maker. That's all there is to it. Okay, let me also tell you about the needle that I use. The needle that I use generally is a 70, 80, or a 90. I mean, I just use whatever I have. You don't need anything special. And you know, in this case, you're not going to even be close to sewing on the glue, so you don't even have to wait for it to dry, because you're not going to actually sew over the glue. So, you're going to set your stitch longer. So if you're going to use a straight stitch, you're going to want to have like a 3 or a 3.5. Depends on how rustic you want it to look. One thing I'll tell you, it is completely different sewing on paper than it is fabric, because the paper is a little slicker and it's gonna have more movement, and you're not gonna have beautiful stitches because it may get hung up, and you know, you may have little tiny stitches here and then bigger stitches over here. I'm okay with that. So, because again, this is primitive, and I'm trying to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sew, because this camera is kind of bouncing around a little bit on this holder. So, anyway, what I usually do is I do a combination of straight stitch and zigzag on, for example, on this cover. I'm just going to do a combination of the two. So a lot of times on the bottom and the top, I will do zigzag, or I might do zigzag for a little bit and then straight, and then zigzag and then straight. So, you know, it's whatever it is that you like to do. So let's start with some zigzag, which is what I've got it on. And I'm going to widen it a little bit, and I'm going to lengthen it a little bit. So we're just going to sew along. Sink my needle there, move this, straighten this fabric out a little bit. Okay, so now we're on the back. This is a straight stitch. I've got it on 3.5. Straighten this out a little bit. I don't care if there's, I mean, this is me. I don't care if there are, see how this has got a, I don't think so. Yeah, you can. The little fold, the little gather, the little winky part right there, what I call wonky. So let's continue on. See, if this was black, this would show up so much better. I don't even have a navy blue, which would be pretty, but anyway, don't have it, so there you go. I have got a bajillion of those in every color you can imagine. But do I have black? No. It's because I use black all the time. And I was going to order some. But of course, Missouri Star Quilt Company is out of it. And this happens to be the Missouri Star Quilt Company brand. It's all cotton, which I like. So you can see how I went straight stitch. You may not be able to see that because it's so light. And then a zigzag. Okay, so I'm going to do a little more zigzag up here. Then I'm going to switch to a longer stitch. Do a straight stitch. Watching me sew is like watching paint dry, isn't it? Let me get my thing out here. my fingers. Make sure everything under here is good. It is. So sewing on paper really is not that much different than sewing on fabric. So now see here, I actually could leave that open and still have this as a pocket, but no, because I'm gonna have lots of decoration on here. So yeah, I can't get off track. That's why it's so important to plan and kind of have an idea of what you're doing as you go along. And then sometimes you just want to fly by the seat of your pants and just say, hey, this would be cute. And we will do some of that because you just can't plan everything. You just can't. So, and I'm going to try really hard to stay within my 30-minute here. Let's go to the straight stitch. Lengthen that. Because, as we know, Okay. So there we go. That's what we have as our cover. So it's done, except of course for our decoration. Now you'll notice that on the back side it is, wait a minute, let me move over here. You'll notice on the back side that when you open your cover, you're going to see that stitching. I happen to like that. There are going to be times when this cover is on the interior is going to be covered with another piece of, either fabric or paper or whatever, and you're going to cover that up. But those are all things that you need to plan before you do any of this, because, if you're going to, for example, if you're going to sew a pocket on here, well, it's too late to do it now because you've already sewed this cover on. And whatever you sew here is going to show through onto that pocket or onto the cover. So, but that doesn't mean, so for example, this one, I'm going to use this as a pocket and I want to sew around it. So I will do my sewing and then I'll glue it on there. So you'll still see sewing, but it'll be glued on rather than sewed on. And then whatever you're going to put in there, you can just put in there as a pocket. So after you sew, I highly recommend that you take your bone folder. Again, I use Teflon. And that you run it over your stitches like this. So you can see how you can see little, holes. You can see the holes where the thread went through. When you see how it disappears those holes. So I highly recommend that you do that front and back. Okay. So let's talk about this pocket. So we talked about, that we were going to use this as a pocket. Depending upon how you want to sew it, you could sew all the way around it. You could sew, up into this little tabby deal all the way around like this. You could sew it into a square. You could sew it just on 3 sides. I mean, however you decide to do that is entirely up to you. You could do maybe, straight stitch here, put a little zigzag there. In this case, I am going to sew on it, but I am also going to, which I'm sure that you will too, decorate this. So, I probably won't cover up all the, I know I won't cover up all the stitching, but the part that's on the inside, I'm going to decorate that. I'm going to put, some kind of collage on there, some kind of a paper collage. So, this is a page that's going to go into our signature. So now let's talk about the signature here for a moment. So right now I have 8 pages. When you count them, there's 8 pages. Okay, 8 pieces of paper. It's not 8 pages. Sorry, it's 8 pieces of paper. So when you open them up, this is a new one that I added, this yellow one right here. So when you open them up, there are 8 pieces of paper here. when you fold it over, you now have 16 pages. So at this point, my signature is 16 pages long. And because each page is double-sided, you have 32 pages in which you can decorate. So 32 opportunities to decorate a page. So some pages like this, it doesn't need a lot of decoration. I might put a cluster here, and I probably will. You know, if it's pretty like this, again, you may not want to cover that up. This page I definitely will not cover up because I like that. Now this is not a page. This is a belly band that I'm going to put on there. Put inside there. I'm going to attach that to this 3 sides with glue, and then I can stick stuff in here. So it's really a pocket. So that's going to go there. It's just a place keeper. This page I'm not gonna do a lot of decoration. Now I probably will put a ruffle on here. I do lots of ruffles. I like fabric ruffles. Okay, I mean not fabric. Well, I do like fabric, but paper. I like paper ruffles. This kind of paper, I definitely will decorate this page. Okay, so the plain pages are going to be decorated. I will do some decoration on this. Definitely do some decoration on this. So, you know, keep that in mind. You know, you want to have a good mix of paper to decorate and paper that is already decorated because it's pretty. You like it like that. Okay. Now, these pages are all one big page like this that we folded in half to go inside here. Okay. This one is a little different. Let me move this over here for the time. So I pulled this out of my inspiration book, and I think that would really look great in here. Okay, but here's the problem. It's just one-sided, or it's just there's not enough to fold over, so it's not a full page. So, what are you going to do? Well, very simple. You're going to add another page to the other side. So, in this case, I wanted it to be this. Okay? Because this wasn't a full page either. Which, you know, something like this would look great folded in half and put inside your book. It really doesn't need, it could be a full page like this. I didn't want to do that here. I didn't want to fold it in half. I wanted it to be, you know, a portrait type presentation. And so I needed another page. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just use this. So I'm going to sew these two pieces of paper together. And so then that way I have a full page to go into my book. But I don't want that page to be white. Sometimes it's okay. You know, you could do all kinds of things with white paper. But I don't want it to be white. So I want to have this fabric on there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is sew this fabric onto this page. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here. Just enough to hold this fabric on here. And this fabric that I've got here, gosh, let me move up here in frame. I'm so bad about that. This particular piece of fabric is just, I didn't cut it. It was already like this. It was in my stash, just exactly like this. Okay. So there's white hanging out on the edges. I don't care. This is a primitive project. This isn't going to go into the Smithsonian. Well, I don't know, it might. They've got Archie Bunker's chair in there, so who knows. So I'm just going to sew. And again, you need to remember that whatever stitch that you choose to sew this on with is going to show on the reverse. So I'm just going to go with a combination, just like we did with the other one, of straight stitch and zigzag. So let's start with zigzag. Actually, I just may do the whole thing in zigzag. Yeah, I think I will. But I don't want it to be as wide. I want it to be a more narrow width. So I'm going to narrow that a little bit. And I'm going to extend the stitch length. And I'm just going to go right along here. So the only thing that glue does, it just basically holds it in place for you, because, you know, like I said, sewing, well, I mean, even with fabric does have some tendency to slip and stretch. But with fabric or with paper, you know, it's even more so. It's very slippy. And slippy is a technical term. Sorry guys, I'll try and hurry. So, and I'm just going around all 4 sides. And even though this side, I'm still going to, this particular side that I'm sewing now, I'm still going to sew it, even though it's probably not going to show. I'm pretty sure that it will not. It'll be, that other page will be over it, if I'm not mistaken. And I may be, because, you know, my brain is old and works on the old operating system. So, I don't know where you get a newfangled brain. So, let me stretch this, pull this out a little bit. Put a stop on there. And I mean, you can use any machine that you like. If you've got a old beater, an old workhorse, that's just as good. If you've got a fancy machine, that's just as good. It's not going to hurt your machine. And in this case, we have not sewed over any glue, because you'll remember that the glue is in this area. Okay, so now we've got these 2 pieces of paper that we want to attach to each other. Wait, hang on. No, it's this way. Better do this right. So here's where you decide. Do you do it this way? And then you're going to have this white show over this? Or are you going to do it this way? And then you're going to cover up part of what, in my opinion, is, I mean, one of the things that I like best about this paper. So you need to decide, before you sew it on there, you need to look at everything and figure out, how's the best way to do it. So this is the way that I am going to do it. And I am going to tear this part off, because I don't want that white showing. And here's how I'm tearing it off, just like this. Okay, is this worth saving? Yes. I know it sounds funny, but when we start making clusters and these other whatchamajingies, which is another technical term, yeah, we will definitely, we don't need all that. This part we can pitch. This part's pretty. We're keeping it. Decision made. It's one decision made today. Okay. So, like this. Gotta keep checking myself. That's kind of crazy, as we know. Okay, so it's going to be like this. Okay, now again, how much do you want to cover of this page? Okay, you don't want to go clear over here like this, because then you're going to cover that up. So I want to go just to about where that, so I want to line all this up. I want this to, let me look over here. Okay. I'm not covering anything up over here. Yeah, I don't want to cover that flower up. So let's fold this, which is obviously what I had done before. Folded it. Let's put a good burnish on there. Like this. Oh, look here. Look how the fabric shows through and it's got a tear there. Oh, I just love that. That is fabulous right there. Okay. Back to this. So, sorry, doing a lot of flipping here. Let's put some glue on here. Just a tiny little bit. And actually, you could just glue this whole thing on here and you wouldn't have to sew it at all. And so, that is exactly what I have done. I'm not going to sew it because I like this. I've got that sewing there. I like this edge, that amount that we've got there. I turn it over. We've got this raggedy edge here, which looks great. Let's turn it over this way. We've got the flower. It's glued there. It's not going anywhere. I put enough glue on there that it's not going anywhere. So, now we have a full page. We have just made a full page. Okay. And now we're going to decide, where would be a good place to put this full page? Okay, if we put it in the center, like this, when you open it up, that's what your whole center is going to look like. Nah, I don't like that. I don't want that to be my center. If we turned it over, then that would be a full center. And that's not really good for me either. So it needs to be an inside page. Usually the inside of your signature is saved for something really special. Some knock your sock off kind of a thing. So how about we do it here? Just like this. So when we flip through, we see that. We see these. We see that. And I will be putting, excuse me, I will be putting a paper ruffle here. Or some kind of ruffle. Or some kind of something. Something will be going there. And then you see that on that side. I just love this paper. I just love that paper. Okay. So, there's where we're at on that. So, let me show you how to make a ruffle. Okay, so everybody knows how to make a ruffle out of fabric. This is kind of wide. This is a vintage piece of fabric. And kind of look on here, you know. I don't know. That's not bad. Because when you ruffle it, okay, yeah, that's all right. Because you're going to see, this is a more narrow one. And these are fabric, obviously. This one's a little wider. Yeah, this one's a little wider. So this is a narrow one, medium, and then this is going to be a wide one. I am going to go ahead and leave it like that. Now, you'll notice that you can either use zigzag or you can use straight stitch. Most of the time I use zigzag. I don't know why. Okay, here's one that's made out of paper, and it is the very same technique. Okay, so, and in this case, these were just strips of paper that I had that were left over, that I had torn off of whatever. They were different widths, as you can see, and I sew them in a chain. So and see how narrow that is. But that works. That works for a lot of different things. Look how narrow it is there. You just keep right on sewing. Just keep right on sewing. So that's the reason why you don't throw anything away. This is paper, painter's tape, or painter's paper that I have done. Okay, all different kinds. So if you've got strips of your paper bag, just use it. So we're going to do both of these. Gosh, this is where it would be really handy to have you be able to see directly there, but you know, see if I can adjust that a little bit. Can't even tell what I'm looking at here. Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. Sorry, guys. Now, I do like to use this tool. I don't know what it's called. I came from Clover. And on one end, it's got this little rubber thing. And then on this side, it's got a pointy, curved edge. I've seen other tools, but I don't know. I don't know what they're... I can't think right now what they were. Some kind of a pushing tool. Anyway, because of the rubber, it works good with paper or fabric. So, now, here's the deal. Remember, this is primitive. So, your paper ruffles, they don't need to be fancy. They don't need to be, you know, perfectly like this. Oh, that's boring. You don't want that. You want it to be a big old waddy mess. Okay? Because again, it's primitive. You're not making this for a beauty pageant. So I've got this on and you want to make sure you sink your needle. And you take a few stitches. Gosh. And you just, I wish I could. So I'm just shoving it in there. That's all I'm doing.